Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today we're going to kind of go over a couple different things, primarily the bowl games that the championship week that kind of decided where the playoffs were and everything, and then of course some breaking news. If you haven't already heard somehow that Sharon Moore from Michigan has been fired. I'll go into that kind of deeper in a minute here, but start off with the games first. So big, some really big moves here. Georgia just blowing Alabama out of the water was not something I saw coming. I thought that they'd win. I didn't think the score difference would be that big. Alabama just did not look good. They did not look really like a solid team at all. And that's not to say they're a bad team. Maybe they played against the number 3 team in the nation. There's a bunch of different factors that could have played into that, but they did not look good at all. And I know a lot of people are questioning why they're in the conference, in the playoffs instead of teams like Notre Dame. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But Indiana beat Ohio State. That was an upset, even though 1-2, it's still Ohio State. Indiana played good ball, good defense, and to be fair, Ohio State missed field goals, or at least one, which contributed to the loss. So there's some kind of shooting yourself in the foot, but at the same time, Indiana won fair and square, hands down. So, good for them. They will be the number one team in the nation probably going into the playoffs. I believe they get a first round bye. Texas Tech just throttled BYU. It was even worse than last time. So, in my mind, and while I had hoped kind of hoped BYU would win because I feel like they're playing good. Uh, I think Texas Tech absolutely deserves all the credit for how good they've been this year. So, Duke upset Virginia. So what's going on there, I was kinda hoping Virginia would win that. I believe I had said that they would, and clearly I was wrong. But, that kinda cannibalized and just ruined the ACC's chances of even getting anyone near the playoffs. If I don't I'd have to look at the brackets again, but I don't recall seeing anybody maybe Miami? No, I think they're out. I I gotta look at that. I do work, so don't spend a ton of time sitting here. But, yeah, that was disappointing in some ways because I kinda hope to see, like, an AC at least ACC get some kind of serious representation, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. Western Michigan beat Miami of Ohio. A couple of things, Tulane and James Madison both won their championship games, which, as you know, bequeaths them a spot in the playoffs. If I'm being real honest, uh, I'm not putting if I give them half of a percentile chance to win, get out of the first round, that might be a half a percentage too much. Just being honest. Those teams, they played hard, they earned that right, but unfortunately, that is not likely to end well in terms of longevity in the playoffs. I think one and done for both those teams. That's not a bad reflection on them by any means, but yeah. Boise State won theirs, and Kennesaw State beat Jacksonville State. Good for them. So, but yeah, obviously the big news was Ohio Indiana beating Ohio State, and then Georgia just throttling Alabama. Obviously, kind of quite clearly the biggest things. So, and then this upcoming weekend is the Army Navy game. Go Black Knights. Hope Army wins, but that should be fun. And then Washington's playing Boise State. And on Tuesday next week, Jacksonville State's going to be playing Troy. I'm just going to go fast forward. These are not games I personally invested in, but if you want to watch them, by all means. Wednesday, South Florida plays Old Dominion. Delaware plays Louisiana. Thursday and the 18th, Arkansas State plays Missouri. And then, of course, after that, I'll put a video about the first round of the playoffs coming up. So, but there's some, and then, of course, there's some big games coming up in that. So, right off the rip, I'll tell you Tulane drew Ole Miss and James Madison drew Oregon. So it looks like Ole Miss and Oregon are moved outside, barring some kind of crazy. move, crazy game, like a App State kind of level upset, chances are the good Ole Miss and Oregon are going to be moving on. So, but once again, no disrespect to those teams, but there's a reality we have to face. Um, Now we're going to kind of go into the Sharon Moore situation. Uh, so apparently, as of this morning, Sharon Moore was fired by the AD of Michigan, and I would imagine all his other people involved with that. Um, there is, from what we understand and know at this time, he was uh, accused of and possibly, I would imagine, proven, given he was fired, of having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. As you know, for most coaches, have some kind of clause in their contract regarding morality. I don't know if they call it morality clause anymore, but that used to be the term. So he is no longer the head coach at Michigan, like now, like hours ago. And if I remember correctly, I saw something related to him being arrested and charges pending. Now, what those charges will be, I don't know. I would have a consensual but inappropriate relationship just means you get fired, but maybe there was something else going on there that we are not currently aware of. So obviously, withhold judgment until proven guilty. Of course, being fired for in a relationship is bad enough, but you start getting accused of other things, and you know you have a bad enough reputation hit as it is, then you get accused of that. That's tough. So if he did something wrong, absolutely, let the law handle that. But until that, just kind of withhold judgment and see where that's going. But like I said, if he did something wrong, you know, get him. Absolutely. So just we gotta wait to see what's going on there. But that is currently where the situation stands. So that leads into just what does Michigan do now for a head coach? I when I was looking online, just right after I read this, mind you, this is not like some reliable source, anything crazy, but I seen people throwing out names. Oh, let's go, Kalen DeBoer, this is that, what's from Bama, in Kurt Signetti from Indiana, like crazy, crazy things. I assure you with almost certainty. Now, obviously, there's always that chance, but Signetti's not leaving Indiana. I highly doubt that. I doubt DeBoer's leaving Alabama. However, Michigan is still a prestigious spot, whether you're a fan or not. It's still a prestigious spot, and people will still want to coach there. It's a great stepping stone to even like I guess bigger NFL will be bigger things in a sense, So I saw people saying that the Ravens were probably going to fire um, John Harbaugh, so he might come to Michigan. All kind of crazy stuff like that. Now I don't believe that's going to happen, but that's a whole different animal entirely about NFL and firings. So, um, I really do think that Michigan has to really, you know, splurge, spend money, go get the best they can find. And, you know, there's going to be, they can brag about their conference, all the prestige, they don't have to because everybody kind of knows, but it's still, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they go for. So, I personally would like to see, someone who with a track record of success current, not like a good coordinator who becomes a head coach at Michigan. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be nice to see someone with a proven track record of success to be there. Now, that doesn't mean that's not a bad reflection on coordinators who have demonstrated the ability to coach by any stretch, and by no means does that rule that possibility out, but they're probably gonna look for somebody who has a track record of success as a head coach. So, I think that's a wise idea. So, but like I said, that's where Michigan stands as of a couple hours ago. That happened, and like I said, I would encourage people to reserve judgment until the full story comes out, but also, deserves to be condemned at least for his off the field behaviors in terms of relationships. That is certainly something Michigan obviously frowned on, rightfully so. So, that's a big thing, and, yeah, hopefully that gets taken care of correctly. In terms of Michigan as their bowl game, they are going to be playing Texas. If you haven't heard, I believe it's the Citrus Bowl, if I remember correctly. That's gonna be a good game. I wonder which team is gonna show up, and I've talked about Texas in this way prior. Which Texas is gonna show up? Is it the Texas that barely scraped by Kentucky and lost to Florida? The not good Texas that was really inconsistent, or is it the Texas that beat Oklahoma? You know, which Texas is gonna show up? And the exact same thing can be said for Michigan too. Which Michigan is gonna show up? Is it the Michigan that fought hard to get their wins and, even in losses, put up a good fight, or is it the Michigan that showed up against Ohio State? We can't have that Michigan. And while I understand a lot of people aren't putting that much uh, clout into bowl games per se, I still think it's a great chance to play against, you know, possible NFL talent. Now, not obviously not every player and each team is a NFL talent, but play against the SEC, play against elite competition every chance you get. Iron sharpens iron. So I'll kind of cover more of that more later, but that is as of right now, Michigan is drew Texas for the Citrus Bowl, I believe. So I'll kind of go with the bowls, the bigger bowls later. Um, yeah, if you're watching this, I appreciate it. Just kind of doing my best with the time I have and throughout the schedule I have going on. But thank you for taking your time to do it, and hope everyone's having a great week. And we're all looking forward to the holidays. So take care, have a great day, and go blue. Peace.